I have been working at McDonald's for almost a year now. The job is nothing special, but since it pays my car insurance and rent, I keep going. The place is usually deserted after 11 p.m. most nights. It's just me, the frying station, and a few late-night customers. I can't say that every night is the same because the memory of that night still haunts me. It was an ordinary Tuesday. I was alone at the counter watching the rain accompanied by lightning. It had been almost 2 hours without customers, but policy required me to stay open. The humming of the fryer and the thud of the rain were the only sounds in the restaurant. I was quietly hanging out behind the counter when the front door got tinted. That surprised me, not because of the noise, but because I hadn't heard a car coming. I turned and saw an old woman standing in the doorway. She wore a thick coat that was moth-eaten in spite of the heat. Inside, her face was covered in clownish makeup, white foundation, exaggerated lipstick, and washed-out blue eyeshadow spread over her eyes. Her bright red nails were so long they gave me goosebumps. She held a huge Stanley cup in her 2 hands, covered in glitter, chipped and scratched. "Are you open?" She smiled at me, and I immediately felt a chill. Her coffee-yellowed teeth behind her red lips made her face hard to look at for more than 3 seconds. It was one of those smiles that are too broad, too forced, that make you feel like something is wrong, but you can't explain why. She approached the counter and said in a shrill voice, "Just a small fry, my dear, I cashed it." She paid in exact currency, depositing each coin slowly into my palm. Then she dragged herself to the farthest bench, clutching her cup. "Stanley, clients can be weird sometimes, it's part of the job, so I haven't given it much thought." I dipped the fries in the oil and watched this woman sitting at the corner table. She moved little, sipping her cup slowly, as if savoring every sip. But soon I began to notice something strange. Every time she drank, red liquid dripped down her chin. At first I thought it was ketchup, but she wasn't eating it yet, and then I saw his tongue. She took it out, licked the red smear, and smiled as if it was delicious. I don't know why, but I got chills down my back. I went to the back pretending to check the reserve. My heart was pounding for no apparent reason. She wasn't doing anything illegal, but the way she drank and looked made me sick, and I was very suspicious of the contents of her cup. I quietly called 911. I told them I wasn't sure, but an elderly woman was acting weird. I said she had blood on her chin. I didn't know what else to say without sounding paranoid. 15 minutes later, 2 policemen arrived in the parking lot. The rain was still heavy. I unlocked the door to let them in and showed the cabin. She was still there, sipping and smiling like crazy. The young officer approached, gently crouching so as not to intimidate him. "Madam, may we take a look at your cup?" She tightened her grip immediately. "It's mine. I need it. I'm still drinking." The senior officer stepped in. "We understand. We just want to make sure everything's okay, please." It took a minute, but they convinced him to give it up. His hands were shaking. She seemed on the verge of tears. As soon as they removed the lid, the young cop jumped back. My body froze with shock when I discovered what was inside. There were severed human fingers floating in the cup. They looked swollen and probably belonged to a man. The water in the cup turned red and blood tasted from his fingers. The woman stared at the cup first, then turned her gaze to me. She knew I was the one who called the cops. A cruel smile appeared on his face. I cleaned them for him. He touched it with his fingers. I had to fix that. The police quickly took her into custody. She didn't resist. She just kept muttering to herself. He said he was sorry, but it was too late. Later that night, After the scene was cleared, one of the officers came back to retrieve the surveillance video. I asked her if she was crazy or something. He gave me a grim update. Her name is Eleanor Kessler. Her husband was found dead in their home. Eleanor butchered him for cheating on him with her secretary. That mug she brought, it was his birthday present for her. The mug is custom made, engraved, and holds nearly 40 ounces. He stopped. According to her, it contains more than one could imagine. That was the last thing he said before he left. I haven't finished my shift. My manager came in early to replace me. I didn't go to work. For the next 2 days, I kept thinking about the red line on her chin, the way she licked it, with that sick, satisfied look, how she clutched that Stanley Cup like it was worth more than her life. It's been 3 weeks now. I still work at the same McDonald's, but I can't walk past that corner box without looking twice. Some nights I think I see her just for a moment, sitting with her coat close to her chin watching me. People think that naughty kids, the ones who dress in black and sulk at the back of the class, are always the ones who cause problems. Well, that's not always true. I was a good student. I did well in school. I had a few friends, but not many. I was calm, normal, and easy to forget among the other students, so the comparison with Tessa always made me feel like I didn't measure up. Tessa was the kind of girl who floated rather than walked. Her beautiful brown hair, accompanied by her charming laugh, attracted everyone's attention. Not only was she a favorite of my teachers, it was frustrating to see how everything worked out for her. Even when she made almost no effort, all the unpopular nerds admired him. Everyone wanted to be like her, even when she was mean to them. I still remember that. It was a Tuesday when it happened before the first class. There was always a lot of noise in the hallways. Tessa came in with a new cup, Stanley in her hand. It was one of those limited edition glittery mugs that had sold out online in a matter of hours. I was sitting at my desk in my main classroom. She held it up as a trophy and many students gathered around her. Oh my God, Tessa, it's the new sparkling lavender. It's very hard to get. What can I say? Rare things find rare people. Tessa smiled narcotically, giving me a sidelong glance as she clutched the cup in her hands. I could see she was trying to make me jealous, and I guess she succeeded by walking in front of me. She even elbowed me in the head. Something in me broke. I kept telling myself, not everyone gets what they want, but deep down, I wanted more than Tessa's cup. I wanted to wipe that sly smile off his face forever. I could no longer think clearly. During class 5, Tessa sat next to me but acted like I didn't exist. The next class was sports, and I saw Tessa leave her things on her desk to go to the locker room. His brand new Stanley mug sat on his desk, constantly reminding me that I will never be chosen. The room emptied little by little. I stayed behind, my hands getting cold and my breathing quickened. I looked at the cup, and then around me. There was no one. I walked over to his desk and took it. I didn't think it would be so heavy. I could see the reflection changing according to the light. I held her off the ground, ready to let go. I smiled, imagining Tessa in tears, discovering her precious mug damaged. It gave me chills to think that I had finally figured out how to beat the most popular girl. If I can't be her, I'll destroy what belongs to her. But just before I smashed it to the ground, I heard Tessa's voice behind me. What are you doing? I turned around. Tessa stood in the frame, her eyes wide with anger. I could have put the cup down and dropped everything. I wanted to apologize, saying it was just a stupid decision made on the spot, but she said something that kept me from being the nice kid. How dare you touch my cup with your dirty hands? She began to approach. Do you think the break will make you like me? You're nothing but trash, and that's what you'll be for the rest of your life. It's just a cup, right? I replied louder than I wanted to. She kept walking towards me. Of course you're jealous of me. You really are a monster. I told her to back off. She didn't. She pushed me. It wasn't hard, but it made the cup slip out of my hand. It hit the floor with a thud, but didn't break. My hand hit the desk as I tried to catch up. That's when I lost control. There was a sharp pencil on the next desk. I took it without thinking. Then Tessa picked up her cup, the same evil smile, and reappeared on her face. These cups don't break that easily, you know. But how would you know? One cup is worth more than your father's salary. My daughter. Suddenly I stabbed her in the eye with a pencil, and her scream echoed throughout the school. Blood ran down her cheek. She collapsed to the ground, struggling, the pencil still stuck deep in her eye. She was writhing in pain, lying on the ground, blood everywhere, and her body was shaking like a headless chicken. People came running. I don't remember much. Then there were screams. Someone pulled me out of the room. Another held Tessa, who was crying and bleeding and begging for help. They say I waited in the hallway until the councilman arrived. Tessa survived but lost her left eye and now wears a prosthetic. Her face bears scars. Later I learned that she had left school and the neighborhood with her parents. As for me, I was arrested. They judged me as a minor. I spent 3 years in juvenile detention and 2 years in mandatory therapy. Now I go to schools, not because I want to. I have to. They take me into classrooms and auditoriums where I explain to students how envy consumes the soul, how I left behind a stupid Stanley Cup and everything it stood for. Destroying my life is someone else's. I show them the cup, yes. Tessa's Stanley Cup. It's cracked, now dented at the base since it hit the ground. That day they gave it to me after the trial as part of my rehabilitation program. This item reminds me daily of my guilt for the rest of my life. Every time I see it sparkling under the lights, I remember the blood. I remember the scream Tessa made with her good eye when she realized what I had done. This happened last Friday. It was one of those slow, cloudy afternoons where the sky seemed damaged and the mall parking lot almost empty. I had my day off, so I finally went to get that famous Stanley Cup that was making a buzz online. They were out of stock everywhere, so I went to a mall 15 min from home to try my luck. It wasn't a big place. Since COVID, half of the shops have closed, but sometimes these small stores still had stock. I thought it was worth a try. Once inside, I took the west hallway because their carpet still smelled of glue and old popcorn. A few teens hung out near the food court, but otherwise the place seemed pretty deserted. I looked in 2 department stores but couldn't find what I was looking for. Going back to the exit, I saw a small shop that I had never seen before. It was nestled between a luggage store and a dark arcade. A faded sign indicating gift. A collector's item was his only name. Inside, the glass door was dirty with old toys, cups, doll, keys, and other items that looked like they'd come straight out of a thrift store. I didn't have high hopes, but it was worth a try. I went in and heard the bell ringing above the door. A man sat behind the register. He looked to be in his 50s. He had greasy gray hair and a polo shirt too big for his pants. His smile gave me chills. He smiled so broadly that it seemed as if he was forcing himself too hard to appear amiable. He asked me before I even spoke, "Are you looking for the Stanley Cups?" No, I was so shocked I stopped blinking. Well, yes. He leaned over and spoke softly. The good ones are all in the basement. People are crazy about it. You know, I didn't like the way he talked. He was too eager to show me his stock. I didn't mean to be rude. However, I ignored the warning signs, thinking maybe he had his cuts, and it would only be a matter of minutes. I agreed. He walked around the counter, grabbed a set of keys, and motioned for me to follow him. Behind the counter was a narrow door that led to a dark tunnel I had never noticed. It led to a metal door at the back which opened it. It was dark and the stairs were concrete. I could feel the temperature dropping as we descended. A few lights flickered, and the air smelled faintly of mold and metal. I was starting to feel uncomfortable. I tried to break the silence by saying, "I didn't catch your name." He paused for a moment, as if he hesitated to answer me. Then he says in a low voice, "You girls love this shiny stuff, willing to spend big just to stay in the loop." I froze. "What?" He sneered, saying it was a joke, but I felt a knot in my chest. I looked at the door we came from and realized that if anything happened to me here, no one would know. A chill ran down my spine. My mom is waiting for me in the car, so maybe I should tell her. She just texted me. He stops dead. I saw his face twitch, his jaw clenched. He suddenly replied, "There is no cup here." His voice had changed. "It's cold. No need to play nice anymore." He also said, "You have to leave." I went up the stairs running 2 steps at a time. I think I held my breath until I got back to the store. I didn't care if people saw me running. When I pushed the door open, I almost fell on the tile outside. As soon as I reached my car, I closed the door and burst into tears. It was as if all the alarms I had ignored had gone off at once. They knew what I wanted before I even said it. The shop was in a strange place, with no customers or merchandise visible. The most disturbing thing was how his voice changed when he knew someone knew my position. I ran straight home, shaking the whole time. I searched the online store later that night, but to no avail. There was no sign, no Google reviews, and no social media. It was like it didn't exist. My boyfriend and I went back to the mall the next morning to see if it was still there. It was closed. The door had chains and a big padlock. Paper covered the windows, and the only thing stuck to the glass was a handwritten note saying "closed permanently." I asked a parking lot security officer what had happened to the store. His face looked confused. "What store? It hasn't been rented in months." We stood there for a moment, and I felt my throat tighten. I still don't know what I stumbled upon. This man really wanted me to follow him, but I don't know who he was or what he planned to do by taking me to the shady basement. I think about it all the time. Yet if I hadn't talked about my mother, if I had gone down to this basement, could I have gotten away with it?